All
I
right,
think we're good.
we are
Yeah.
live. All right, my name is Meredith Sums. I'm the Senior Director of After School and Informal Learning at Mouse, and I'm on the steering committee of the Emoticon NYC Youth Digital Media and Technology Challenge. And I'm so excited to be here and introduce two amazing folks related to the event this year. The first is Amanda Perales.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Perales, and I'm on the Illuminati Steering Committee, which is we're a bunch of alumni from the event that are helping to plan it.
Yes, and also on the call is our amazing keynote speaker, Errol King, who is a creative technologist at Google.
What's up?
So we have a bunch of questions for you that we'd like to share with the Emoticon community. Could you describe a typical day for you at Google in a normal time, and then tell us how have things changed since we've all been stuck at home due to the pandemic?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm happy to that we've moved to virtual, given the circumstances. Right now, I'm as a creative technologist. I kind of have two types of days. There are days when I'm just heads down in craft. I write code, or I'm designing, and so there's days when I just like tell everybody, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't be on meetings today. I'm just going to be doing stuff." And hopefully, at the end of the day, I'll share something out for people to look at, or sort of like interact with. I love those days. Those are my favorite days. I just set like 2 or 3 goals for myself, and I just like do everything in my power to make those goals come to life. And then the other days are like the other day that I described, where I'm sharing things out, getting up project updates and in meetings and talking with people all the time. Um, and that's kind of a normal day. Lots of emails, lots of meetings. But I will say like Google's a really cool place to work. Lots of really like nice people, smart folks. And what I enjoy about it most is just because it's such a big company, different people like you find people know things about all sorts of different things that are just random. So you're like, oh man, I wish I knew somebody who knew X. And I don't know, a couple of emails, the next thing you might be having coffee with somebody who's like really great at that thing. And so that's the joy of it. But yeah, that's my typical day.
You could probably do all of that remotely fairly easily.
I have been doing it. Yeah, it's funny. I when this all switched over, the team that I'm on actually, we moved over pretty quickly, and most of my team actually now sits in New York City, and um, we relied heavily on just like inner office, like walking to lunch or talking or, going to get, from one meeting to another. A lot of things happen in those moments. But we've been spending a lot of time, I spent a lot of time on Google Hangouts in the last, or Meet, pardon, in the last. But yeah, a lot of it has actually transitioned to virtual pretty seamlessly. Just took a little bit of time to get used to, different way of being.
What are you binging right now?
Oh, I've been binging 2 shows. Sorry. I was looking at my wife. She kind of rolled her eyes at me because we agreed to watch together, and then I don't know. I just did a whole yeah. It's rough
Some things
out there.
can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first was Schitt's Creek.
I
I just
love that show.
yeah, it's really good. I started that and just kind of like lost my mind and crushed through it in a few weeks. And then what I'm on right now, which I'm fairly behind on, is Westworld season 3. Yeah, kind of just got back into that, and yeah, I'm kind of hyped about where that's going. So it's one of those where I'm watching, I have no idea what's going on for about half the time, but then when it all clicks, I'm like, oh my god, it's amazing. I'm in that world right now.
How
Okay.
often are you changing your clothes right now?
Yeah, it's a rough one. I mean, um, you know, um, yeah, it's well, I've got like my house clothes, and then if I do happen to go outside, yeah, I would say maybe every other ish, maybe third day, I'm probably changing. It slowed down. My change, my like, yeah, I've slowed down my changing of clothes. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, could you tell us who you were as a teenager?
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, it's like,
It's a really big shift, I know.
way to warm me up. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's all right. Who was I as a teenager? My goodness. I was, I feel like I was probably a weird kid. Well, I grew up in the Bronx, around the Soundview, Castle Hill, Parkchester area. Um, I've always been sort of like into sports and arts at the same time. So like I played basketball pretty much all my life. That was really big for me. But I was also into, drawing and writing poetry and, making things. I feel like was kind of like always a part of what I did. Um, I did end up getting into a prep school. I went to boarding school actually for high school. So in ninth grade, I ended up going to Connecticut, and I got a scholarship to go to school out there. And so it's a very different type of experience being, in the woods kind of most of the year, and then in the summers back in the city. But I feel like that still the same mojo. Like I played ball a lot, and that was kind of a thing that I did. And then in other times, I was running around doing all kinds of other just like weird creative activities, and was always like kind of really into the clubs. So meaning like I created the poetry club at my school, little video editing club. One of the people who did that. I was in the newspaper. Like I was always a part of sort of like some production. I feel was kind of the way that I was. A decent student. I mean, I've definitely failed classes, and I definitely I would say by like my junior year kind of got my stride, and was doing pretty well and hit on a roll a few times. And so I was able to kind of stabilize my academics while trying to figure out all the cool things that I wanted to do with my free time. But yeah, I was kind of all over the place. I would say the typical comment that my teachers would make is like, lots of potential, but never applies himself. And I don't know, jack of all trades, but doesn't sit down to really, and I don't know, I feel like that, although that was a critique of mine at that point, I feel like that kind of became like how my life was lived. So I'm okay with it in hindsight, but that's me as a teenager. Pretty normal.
What do you remember? What was the first thing you made that you'd say like maybe it was related to technology?
Yeah, I would say the first thing that I wrote that like changed my love, like all of my creative efforts suddenly dissolved, and I was like, oh my God, code is, creation, like technology as creative tool. I was 19, and I left university very early. And a buddy of mine was like, hey, there's this class at the School of Visual Arts, this thing called Flash, and it was a programming language and kind of platform at the time for the web. And I went to the class, and in the first class, the instructor, Joshua Davis, basically taught us to draw a circle on the screen. And then he's like, all right, we're going to move this circle. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I had been doing some illustration, and but the idea that I could like draw a circle, move that circle to a desired place, and create an interaction, and then like, oh, this is my daughter, by the way. She's just kind of hanging out here. Hey. So yeah, sorry. I know, I love you too. Yeah, I just feel like making this circle and then being able to start to click on it and drag it around and animate it just seemed like a really powerful thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And I feel like that was the first time that I like wrote some words that turned into computer commands that made a cool thing. And then I remember sharing that, and at the time people were like, oh man, this is pretty sweet. I mean, now it's like whatever, but I was like, oh, this is the beginning. And I started thinking, what are all the things that one can do with this? And so I would say that's the first thing that I remember was Joshua Davis, and making that circle move across that screen was the gateway for me.
How did you get from there to the current career you hold today?
There's kind of like two ways that I could answer that. One would be I went here and then this happened, then I went here and then that happened, I went here and that happened. I'll try to not do that and think of it more as I would say the mindset shift that I had to go through. I think the first was for me, my dad always said, get paid to do something that you enjoy doing. And I he just kind of drilled that in over and over again, which is a luxury to be able to do that. And you're blessed to be able to do that. And so I kind of kept thinking about that. And so in high school, when I'm trying these various creative forms, I'm kind of searching for that thing that maybe I could do that I mostly enjoy, and figure out how to make money from that. And then I think once I realized that education or learning for me wasn't about like my degree or what paperwork I got, but more the experiences and the people I was exposed to and the types of projects that I could get into. And it's always just been the pursuit of, in this moment right now, is there a thing that I would spend my free time doing, and how do I make that happen? And then additionally, what could I spend my time doing that somebody else would pay me to do that I'd enjoy making and I'd learn a lot from? And I just tried my hardest to stay in that groove. There are times when I have veered off and I've ended up doing things that I just because I needed to, I had to do because I needed to, either make money and kind of get to my next point. And so it's just been really a matter of trying to balance this like, what is the next thing that I want to make? How do I put myself in a position to do that, and really give myself to that creative process. And then there's just somebody out there willing to pay me to do it. And I feel like that's just been all of the various jobs and places that I've gone and roles that I've taken up or businesses that I've created have been as a result of just really trying to satisfy that need of wanting to be paid to do something that I enjoy, that is a skill that needs to be acquired. So I would say it centers on mastery. Like, what am I really working at now? So yeah, I would say those are the pieces. So in broad strokes, I took whatever job I could take. And then when I was there, I just tried to figure out things that they needed. So my first job, graphic design, was a thing that they needed, and they were going to pay me to do it. And they would pay me to like go do little trainings to do it. And once, then it was like, oh, the web is coming about. Maybe they need a website. And it was like, okay, hey, you guys want to send me to like Web Academy or something? And maybe I can make your website for cheap. It's that kind of like thing of just like, what is needed, and can I make it happen? I don't know if that was helpful, but that's just kind of how I think about it. And I'm still thinking about it that way to this day.
That's super helpful. I think, one of the things that I think when you're in middle school and high school, trying to imagine how you can go from, your history class to a job at, a place like Google, or to be doing work that you feel passionately about and that you can be creative in. Those pathways are so different for every person. You can talk to thousands of people and find careers that have taken every twist and turn. And I think having a goal, like what can I do that I would love to do, that I'm good at, and that I would do in my free time, even if they weren't paying me, it's hard, but like worth it.
And a lot of times, just frankly speaking, a lot of time it was also about working my job from 9 to 5 and then going home and spending my whole night making the thing, right? And I find that those are painful and challenging times, but then you look back and you're like, hey, look, my daughter is contributing to the story. But yeah, okay, baby, come. But yeah, I think the goal is that in the end, if I made a thing that I feel proud of, then I'd be happy to share that. And maybe there's somebody else who sees value in that, and then I could kind of keep going. And so, it's just finding that balance and using your free time as wisely as possible. It gets more, the free time kind of over time, as you get older, that free time starts to kind of like go away as you accrue more responsibility. But when you're young, in them teenage years, oh man, use that time.
So with that in mind, what's one thing you wish you could go back in time and tell your teenage self?
No great thing is, or patience. I think I heard once, like, patience is the creator of all beautiful things. And beauty is, in that context. So let me take that apart. I've often suffered from wanting to see immediate results. And I've come to learn that the most awesome things to be made, or the most awesome things to be learned, are actually impossible to learn quickly. And if you think you've learned it and it was quick, then it really wasn't a rich rich and deep treasure chest. So patience, I think, is the thing. And then beauty, all beautiful things. That's not it's not just an aesthetic thing. It's also oneself. You take time to grow into who you are, to go through the things that you need to go through, to take time to reflect on them, and to not try to speed through things. It's kind of cliche, but I just feel like if I had heard that a long time ago, I might have saved myself some unnecessary failures and would have enjoyed the process a little bit more.
If an emoticon student wanted to follow in your footsteps, what advice would you give them?
Man, have a high threshold for pain, my friend. No, I think following in one's footsteps. I'm not even sure what that means. But I don't think anybody should ever aspire to be another individual per se. However, maybe one aspires to uphold the philosophy or ethos of someone. So if I were to equate footsteps then to a philosophy of life, I would say remain flexible, stay in the moment, which means you have to stay in the moment and listen deeply. I think if you're listening, staying in the moment, remaining flexible, and constantly creating, then stuff kind of happens. If you become rigid and you get stuck to a thing, a memory, a way of being, and then everything else is changing and you're not changing anymore, you're gonna run into challenge. If you're not creating, then your voice, you lose your ability to hear yourself in your voice. So you have to constantly stay there. And you've got to remain fluid because everything just continues to change constantly. I mean, even where we are right now, nobody could have possibly imagined the circumstances by which we're living right now. And so one has to remain keen to the idea, like, wow, all right, anything is possible. If anything is possible, that goes in all directions. So just stay open, and use your voice constantly. That ethos, I think, can get you pretty far, and then from there you've got to figure out what that means for you and change the words of it and change the practice of it to fit what you need for who you are.
So speaking of challenges in this world, and I think design and looking at challenges as design opportunities is a part of Emoti-Con, as a project where students are presenting things that they have made, where they're using their life experiences and their passion for social change to make innovations in technology and media. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges in the world right now, or in our local communities, or personally? And similarly, how can we translate those into opportunities to sort of mobilize the next generation of innovators? What do you hope that this generation is going to be making and improving?
All right, so here's my series of thoughts. The first was, well, who am I to tell you all what to make? You as a generation, you've experienced the world in a particular way that I could never comprehend. What you need to make for you, your community, family, or anybody else that you care about through your point of view, if that moves you, if that moves your creative spirit, then you should follow that, and be relentless in the mastery of that experience. With that said, my contradiction is, co-creation is beautiful, and cross-generational, cross-cultural co-creation is what we need. The societal structures, the philosophies of life, the communities, and the ways in which those communities operate, the standards by which we treat each other as humans, and the way in which we reduce the amount of walls that we put up between each other, both figurative and non-figurative, imaginary, non-imaginary. I hope that is what is created, and that can be supported by technology, that could be supported by paintings, that could be supported by poetry, that could be supported by manifesto. It can be supported by actions you take every day. Those are the things that need to be made. And so it is a lot of times when we think about problems to solve, there's a potential like monetization, the influence of capital, the potential of whose lives are we making better, and the ethical implications of all things. There's no sense. There's no need to be like. There's no need to become paralyzed by all these implications. But one should take the time to be mindful of what they do, and so yeah, I think co-creation is probably what is needed more so than anything in the future.
Errol, thank you so much. This is awesome. Amanda, do you have any final questions?
I really don't. Thank you so much.
I say the other thing too is just be inspired by each other. Stay connected. Organizations like this are amazing. Being in community with people who make stuff is like everything. You can be a lone wolf and out there, trying to kind of do it alone. But honestly, when you're in practice, creative practice, technological practice, and you have people around you that are doing it, and whether that's in person or virtual, that's super important. So, anybody who's watching this video, share it with somebody who you think can benefit or, needs to be held in community with other folks that are making stuff. And shout out to Emoticon and the Illuminati, however it's said. That's a fire name, by the way. It's a fire name.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah. Take it away. We're excited to see what you all make.
Swimming pool of pancakes or shower of Cheeto dust?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough.
All right, now I have to have ask some clarifying questions. How deep is this pool of pancake?
6 feet.
Wow. Okay. For the record, I'm 5'9", so technically I can drown, but I think I can make it work. Okay, and then is syruped or unsyruped? Because I'm like. It changes things if it's like dry pancakes or
okay.
syrup pancakes.
Syrup. You can choose what kind of syrup, and you can choose whether or not there's butter or not.
Wow, I hadn't considered the butter. So that means that they were warm. Yo, you know what? All right, I was leaning towards Cheeto shower because I was like, I get in, I Cheeto up, I lick it off. It's great. Oh man, but that would be really great to just be under a flaking of Cheeto dust. I mean, you can think about it. You could just like open your mouth and just like Cheeto dust is just like falling in your mouth. I will say though, the idea of being surrounded in a warm pancake, like cluster of warm pancakes, somehow feels like a magical moment that I might need to experience. So yes. I'm gonna go with the pool of pancakes, but I might need to go to the kiddie pool side so I can just like kind of like lounge, like chest in with bodies in, but keep my head above. That's what I'm thinking.